Will Jeff Bezos get his hands on Liverpool? What are the predictions for USL League One club futures? Plus, much, much more here on today's edition of Morning Kick Around. Hello and welcome into Morning Kick Around, the show that dots the map of the ever-changing American soccer landscape. How you doing? How you feeling? My name's Robert Kerr, local soccer guy, and surviving away from home, Jason Davis, radio soccer guy. How you feeling?
Yeah, I am playing an away game. I mean, I love my in-laws' house. I love Puerto Rico. It's one of my favorite places in the world, and yet I'm slightly uncomfortable at all times here. This room is made of concrete, so I know I don't sound normal. I've got air conditioning running 20, the whole show, because otherwise I'd be dripping with sweat, Rob. So it's not ideal, but we're here, and we're here talking about American soccer, and we're here because there's a lot of change coming in the very near future. I mean, how change happening right now? Change is all around us, is what you might say.
Yeah, indeed. The world is ever changing, and this world of footy definitely never sleeps. As I woke up this morning, big earth-shattering news about the future of my English club, and I was sleeping on it. And wow, that could be a piece of news that has ripple effects across my and many other people's support. But great to see so many folks.
We're going to get into the awkward relationship between ownership and fandom, I think, in this show. And
I'm a little bit speechless, man. I'm still recovering from what I just read and what we're going to talk about today.
All right. You were about to say hello to everybody. I would like to first acknowledge our guy, Mr. Bob, out there in New Mexico. Incredible support, as always. Can we clang for Mr. Bob yet again? I think he's the leader in the Clang house. Many, many clangs to his name. So many clangs. Can't keep track of them. Callan Reese, clanging it up over here as well. And because of these gift memberships, I would like to welcome to the ranks of the Ultras, Ryan the Problem Child, Louis Dana, Sox Jet 988, Fresh with an E on the end, Bob's Gaming, Gailino, Kevin Brady, Tyler Hatch, Armando Bus, BPM 10. Let's see, am I missing anybody? Oh, Josh Stevenson, 8851, Bolt Action Jackson, DJ White, Garden Nest, Alex Falla, all these people. Thank you very much to Bob and Callan for hooking them up with memberships. Remember, membership on the channel makes you an Ultra. Being an Ultra gets you access to the Discord and to bonus content. What else do we have for the people?
Well, today or in general, because big shout out, thank you to everyone. And then I got to say, with all those clangs, those early clangs to wake us up this morning, we got to thank producer Jenny. And thank goodness she's back from vacation. We had some misplaced clangs last week, so I'm really glad that she's back in the seat helping us out today. But
we don't know how to clang when she's gone. We don't know how to post a podcast when she's gone. We don't know how to do the timestamps when she's gone. It's not that we don't know how to do them. We forget because normally we're so reliant on Jenny. So thank you, everybody, by the way, clanging up for Jenny as well. She's a major support on this show, major help on this show. And your membership to Morning Kick Around and becoming an Ultra helps us, give Jenny what she deserves for all the support she provides to the show.
And today's show, we are going to kind of extend those looks at which teams in USL kind of are promotion aspiring. We went through the championship over a couple episodes last week, and there was a lot of conversation about what about USL League One sides. So we're going to kind of open that conversation to USL League One teams and where their ambitions lie and kind of how high their ceiling might be. So we're going to dig into that. We're going to talk that out with you guys today. Maybe a little bit of other bits and bobs of news. And then also that Liverpool story we're going to get into. But thank you for all your support, MK Ultras. Like Jason said, you get priority commenting on screen during these live programs. We produce bonus content for you guys, early access to some pieces, and then access to the Morning Kick Around Discord server, which is a flush with great conversations anywhere from the national teams to local clubs, and even some members creating their own teams or are already on their club creation journey. So I think the price of admission right there to access that wonderful and growing soccer community we have there at the Morning Kickaround Discord server. And if you're new to that whole thing, it's just basically a chat room with a variety of threads of conversations. But you ready for the show? Do we need to promote anything else?
No, let's go. Let's get into this.
All right, let's kick them all off. Let's go into Monday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Let's go. There's a heavy news for Liverpool supporters, myself included. I'm still just reacting to just reading this as we're preparing the show. But Jeff Bezos and a consortium of other names are in talks and are near a deal to buy around a third of Liverpool FC. There's been a lot of chatter about how Americans have become the majority in ownership in the Premier League and in many of the top leagues across continental Europe. But here's Jeff Bezos, and Sky News also reporting the consortium includes Amit Bhatia, the son-in-law of steel magnate Lakshmi Mittal and former shareholder in English second-tier side QPR, Queen's Park Rangers, and a Liverpool owner of Fenway Sports Group could announce a deal as early as this week. The investment would reportedly value the club at $4.4 billion, making it one of the largest valuations ever achieved in club football. How about that, guys?
So I think what's important to acknowledge here is that Jeff Bezos's name is it's a marquee name, right? He's a billionaire people know. So he started Amazon. That's why he's got billions and billions and billions of dollars. He now owns the Washington Post. He rented out the entire city of Venice for his wedding. I think it was Venice, right? He shut down Venice so he could get married.
George Clooney and all them came over, right?
I mean, all the incredible canal stuff, whatever. He's just a billionaire. And like when you say there's a consortium and you mentioned steel magnates, and I saw some other people who are involved in this in some tertiary way or maybe have money involved in it, it doesn't feel like Jeff Bezos is taking over Liverpool. That's not what this is, right, Rob? This is just there's going to be an investment from a name everybody knows who has a reputation for being a certain kind of billionaire, and that's going to make Liverpool fans feel a certain way, even if you understand that FSG retains control of everything that will make Liverpool competitive or not competitive for Premier League titles and Champions League titles.
It's a lot to kind of grapple with. I won't lie, but yeah, Bezos amongst a consortium of folks trying to take their way into the Premier League, and that valuation is insanity when you think about it. I mean, is anything in this world, sports related, should it really be worth billions? I mean, that's a bit of a side note, but I see a comment from Average Joe 5016 saying people try to say relegation stops owners from investing, but in the Premier League, you just need owners to vote on rules.
Who says that?
I'm just saying that's a comment. People try to say relegation stops owners from investing.
People don't say that.
Well, this gentleman here is, but I'm just saying is they can change the rules once they have the majority.
Well, not only that, they're not. Look, first of all, Liverpool's not going to vote to change the rules on promotion and relegation in England because they're never going to get relegated. Liverpool's never getting relegated.
Like, yeah, but in a certain investor class, they want assurances that their valuation can never drop.
Maybe some of them do, but I think you're just talking. I think I reject this whole conversation, this binary conversation around American soccer that doesn't have promotion and relegation and English football that does, and then trying to play them off one another when it comes to it. There are billionaires. There are plenty of billionaires invested in American soccer. There are many billionaires invested in American soccer, and they continue to invest in American soccer. at many levels, MLS, USL. There may not be billionaires at the USL level, individual billionaires, the way that there are at, say, the Premier League level or MLS level. But there absolutely are investors looking at each one of these investments. It's like anything else. I'm not necessarily the key figure in the investment portfolio that my family holds. That would be my wife. She's very smart. She's an engineer. I lean into her on that. But when we talk about these things, it's not like she says, oh, it's this one or that one. It's this one has this benefit and it may grow this amount and it's in this industry, right? That, oh, if we invest in this fund is all about technology. Right. So what should we invest in that? Because technology is going to grow and that those companies are going to gain value and therefore we gain value in our investment. Oh, over here, these are what do they call them? The staples, right? Oh, this company makes bread. This company's they provide things that people definitely need no matter what technology is. So we invested these companies are going to be more stable. They might not grow as fast, but they're going to be stable. They're not going to lose value. Technology companies are always risky because they could lose value. Those are just different kinds of investments, right? And I'm even being very narrow with the kind of investment I'm talking about. Mutual funds versus annuities versus real estate, right? Billionaires, anybody who has money to invest is considering each kind of investment individually when they are going about assessing the value of that or the potential value of that investment to their portfolio. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying is that the kind Bezos investing in Liverpool does not say anything about the attractiveness of investing in American soccer. Nothing. It says he wants a part of Liverpool. Maybe he just likes the idea of being part of Liverpool. Maybe it is about the return on value, but that doesn't mean that the people investing in MLS aren't also thinking we can get a return on value. The equity in our share of MLS single entity is going to go up 1 billion% between now and 2045 or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, what when you get to a certain level, and if you have you're a well resourced person and you try to get into the professional ownership, there is like I want to buy into this because it's something that's entertaining, and if I lose X amount of money, it doesn't hurt me as a person, and I get to be involved with a very famous and popular thing. Or are they getting into it is I want to leverage it for more value? It's valued at 4.4 billion.
Sure,
and
sure.
in 10 years, is it worth 6.4 billion? And then we've gotten our 2 billion stake. And it's like, what are the intentions there? Or can those be one and the same, I suppose? Because Bezos could see it as a play toy, but when I see steel magnate, I guess it's like son of a steel magnate, but there's other probably more serious business people going into that trying to turn a profit out.
Well, look, and again, it's really hard to account for everyone's motivations in these situations. Some of this is, I just want to be involved in football. It's very cool to be owner of a football club. Now, here's the thing. If Jeff Bezos really believed that the value in English football is in promotion and relegation, he'd go pull a Wrexham, right? He'd go buy a club that he can build up and maybe get to the Premier League from the National League, from League Two. Like whatever, he would do that thing. If he really wanted to do the work and be the guy and maybe grow the value of his club 1,000% in 10 years, that's what he would do. That's where the return on investment is. Like,
so that would be fun if he went did an Accrington Stanley Prime or something.
I would actually root for Jeff Bezos to do that because of the show it would be, because of the entertainment value it would get from it. I don't know about I would feel bad for the club potentially because he's Jeff Bezos, but again, he's also a successful businessman. He may choose to run certain things into the ground, but generally speaking, he built one of the biggest companies in the world. I mean, he built an insane empire on the back of Amazon. So you could say, well, he may be a jerk. He may do this. He may do that. His public persona may not be great, but the guy obviously knows how to make money. He obviously knows how to grow a business. Does he know how to run a football club? That's different, right? That we know that's different. Look, again, I think that Jeff Bezos investing in Liverpool is the reason his name is first is because he's the most famous one. But this is clearly just some people thinking, oh, if we put $1 billion or whatever it is, you said it's 4.4 billion, the valuation. So if we put more than, and they're buying a third, we put more together, this consortium, we put a more than $1 billion into Liverpool, we're going to see X return over the next 10 years. Like, it's a fairly stable place to put our money. Oh, and by the way, we get to say that we're owners of Liverpool Football Club, which is pretty cool.
And something we talked about in the lead into the show going live is, does he have any idea of the political alliances or Liverpool's actual reputation and lore of being like the people's club and social leaning and all? Is he aware of it? Does he care? Does he just see Liverpool famous club? Or these people came to him and it's like, hey, do you want to throw in some of your resources into us doing this thing? Like you say, you can't gauge what they're getting into it for. But does he have any idea what the lore is of the club?
First of all, let me address this, John. John is saying, what have I missed? FSG is selling? No, they're not selling. They're selling 1/3 of the club to get investment into the team, into the club. That's what they're doing. And who knows why they're doing that? I haven't, maybe Liverpool-focused fans know why FSG feels the need to bring in new investment. Maybe that's about the women's team. Maybe it's about just, again, you're locked out of spending all of that investment on your playing roster because of the rules around revenue. But Liverpool obviously has massive revenues. Maybe there's investment somewhere else, like whatever. I don't know what that's about. Right. I don't know. But that's the thing. Like, if you want to grow the business, if you want to keep going, and if you want to be Liverpool as Liverpool, you want to be competitive for Premier League titles each and every season and go for that Champions League title, then you have to be putting more money in constantly. And this is one way to do that. Now, again, like, you're talking about whether or not Bezos and these people, Amit Bhatia, if they have an appreciation of what Liverpool represents to the people of Liverpool. And I remember going back to the Hicks and Gillette days, how the fans on Merseyside responded to some pretty bad management of the club by those American owners. And they were burning American flags in front of Anfield and things of that nature. And I obviously that hasn't been an issue because FSG is much better at running the club than Hicks and Gillette ever were. But I think we're past we're past the time, Rob. And I hate to say this because, oh, by the way, it is a selling point for the club, and they will use it and leverage it for everything it's worth to say we're the people's club. We represent this kind of England, or this kind of a person on the political spectrum, or whatever that is, extending internationally, obviously now. But that idea that there's some sort of character to clubs when billionaires are invested, when you're owned by FSG, kind of out the window. I'm sorry. Like that you can, if you were born and raised on Merseyside and you've been going to games for 50 years and your grandfather took you and your father went and all these things, you can claim that connection to that history, but Liverpool's not that club anymore. They're not the people's club anymore because they're a multi-billion pound operation each and every year, Rob. How detached from the politics of the 80s and the Thatcher idea of Liverpool is that? It's so detached from that.
Yeah, it's detached and removed. And in fairness, it shouldn't get the hackles up too much because FSG has been pursuing outside investment for a number of years, and there's been a few stories similar to this. This may be like talking about a deal might be announced this week is a little bit more immediate than reports in the past, but they've had talks with Saudi groups and a few others in the last few years, but apparently a consortium coming very close to buying a third of Liverpool.
One question I would have for you as a Liverpool fan, and for look, again, like, I'm not going to pretend Fulham is markedly different. Obviously, scale and spending and ability to win titles. Like, I know Fulham's not in the category of Liverpool, but if you're talking about who owns Liverpool, who owns Fulham rather, and how Fulham operates, it's not a difference in kind from the way Liverpool operates. Now, this is every Premier League club. This is every club that can't even dream of being promoted to the Premier League right now. Like, this is even Wrexham, right? Wrexham has done this thing of marrying and mixing the idea of, look at the people of Wrexham, the blue-collar people of Wales who have supported this club forever and ever and ever. And the two Hollywood guys come in and say, hey, we want to listen to you and respect you. They're still Hollywood guys. They still brought with them money that would have never existed at Wrexham. Like, so, this character thing that we want to hold on to, man, it's really tough. And there are two things you can do. and maybe more, but two clear options. One, you reconcile yourself to this because it's your club, and why should they get to take it away from you? It's sort of like what we went through with the U.S. men's national team this summer when certain people wanted to claim connection. Oh, look at this, and that. Rah, rah, USA, wave the flag. Wait, hold on a second. Wait, you wouldn't even want Fowler and Balogun to be in this team if you had that kind of stuff. Like, you can't take it from us. You can't rob us. Or when obviously the red card gets overturned because we think political interference, hey, you can't take it from us. If you're a Liverpool fan, if you're whatever club that you support, and you go back far enough and you remember a time when it wasn't being run by billionaires or it wasn't being invested in by consortiums, just the word consortium makes my skin crawl a little bit. If you can claim a connection to that or you want to, fine. And I won't blame you for that. The second option is to do an FC United of Manchester and just run off and start over and be like, nope, we're not doing this anymore. We don't like what this is now. This is not what I signed up for or what my grandfather signed up for. So we're going to do our own thing and work. And by the way, that's kind of the spirit, I think, in a lot of American soccer right now. And I hope it holds. I really do. Don't know if it's always going to. And again, you could argue MLS has already crossed that threshold, that they've already gone by the event horizon of leaning into the big money drives everything, and your connection to your club has been absolutely severed by those relationships. But I don't know.
Yeah, Jason and I reacting to the news that a consortium, including Jeff Bezos, may be buying a big stake in Liverpool FC as early as this week. Thank you for all your comments, and stay with us, though, as we dip into the ambition rankings of USL League One side with promotion and relegation on the horizon. Stick with us here on Morning Kick Around. With promotion and relegation on the horizon in USL, we wanted to expand our conversation from last week about which teams have their sights set on USL Premier. And if we're going to go down the list to the American Third Division to USL League One, there's a lot of new teams and quite a wide variance of perceived ambitions. So we're going to go through USL League One and which team is Premier minded and which ones might have that in the future there. So we're going to kind of evaluate the ambition rankings based on maybe their current stadium size, what that can move up to if needed, the size of their support, and of course, some of their results in their short history for most of these clubs.
So a lot of this is really just about mentality, right? Because and when we talked about the USL Championship sides that we thought, the clubs that we thought might be candidates for USL Premier, lots of the comments were things like, why does it matter? What's your stadium size? This club is in this position. This club is in that. But again, a lot of that was based on, here's what we know right now about the standards that apply. We don't know if those standards will change. We can't know if those standards would change because we're not in those meetings, if they are happening. And we hope they are, around what the professional league standards will look like. What we can say is there are a couple of things here that make some clubs look more ready to be first division teams in American soccer than other clubs. In USL League One, what is interesting is I think there is a gamut here of clubs that there are clubs that are certainly ambitious that started in League One for their own particular reasons. A lot of that has to do with the entry costs, right? The expansion fees, the level of spending on your roster, things like that. When you have a group of investors who maybe don't have a ton of money and are being a little cautious, some of it's about market size. Well, it just doesn't feel like maybe we should be that big, Rob, right?
Yeah, I was going to say right now, the entry point of this league without the merit-based system is the buy-in level and capacity and the budget and the environment that you're existing in. So I think a lot of these teams make sense that they are here right now, but I think they're, like you said, a wide gamut of what the ceiling is for each of these guys.
Some of them are testing the waters. Some of them are so new. In fact, the very first one here, which we can start with, is AC Boise. So new with an idea, a hope, a dream. But what I respect about what Brad Stith and AC Boise have done there, and certainly they look like a club primed to do bigger things, is they said, okay, we think we can do this. We think it's going to be great, but we're not going to get cocky, right? We're not going to go, we're going to straighten to USL championship. And like, you kind of have to pick your lane depending on a couple of things: your market, your stadium situation, your investment, the initial response. These things are all part of the mix when it comes to these clubs. AC Boise has blown the doors off it in their first season, right? And I know that they are out there on social media retweeting certain people's comments about promotion and relegation because they've gotten their 7,000 out in their stadium, and excitement in Boise and the surrounding area is very high. And I'm not trying to rain on any parades, Rob, but it's year one. And there are plenty of examples in American soccer where a team came charging out of the gates and everything was great in year one. And then you look up a couple years later and you're like, oh no, what happened?
It was a great rollout, and there was a lot of excitement for the new shiny thing, but it hadn't yet integrated into that community's like routine, right? That's what would lead me to believe, or maybe they didn't get the results they needed to keep the attention fixated on coming out to the park every night. But AC Boise, first year as a pro club, leading USL League One in attendance, averaging over 7,000. They're at capacity. I think I'll have to look through some of my search histories, but I believe there's already, like, in the back of their mind, there was expansion thoughts. And then if you guys dig into, we actually know more about this club than most of these that we're going to review, because we did a countdown to kickoff and we had officials and club representatives and even supporters, some of those who became ultras after our stories of, like, this club that was cooking it up for quite a many years, and were very intentional. And it seems, from the outside at least, that their plan to roll out and their debut year is going exactly at
Let's be clear, by the way, and we're not gonna look at the PLS for this conversation, because I don't want this conversation to be about stadium capacity and metropolitan area population. I don't want it to be about that.
It's notable though. It's notable to see how their ceiling is.
It's worth noting, because the strength of your business matters towards your ambition. And what we're saying here is, let's imagine a world in which USL, when they get there, split the championship, move 12, 14 clubs into the Premier Division, right? And look, but we know that there's enough clubs between the championship and the Premier Division to basically make two leagues. You could also imagine some League One clubs, depending on the jockeying that happens, going, you know what, we want to be a USL championship team. We just want to move up when we establish the pyramid, right? Which is, you're applying for that place, right? When we talk about USL Premier, we know that there are 3 clubs that have actively applied for USL Premier. I don't know what that means, because it's not transparent. This is not a government body that has to tell us what application looks like. There's no form on a web page. It's just, they've said we've applied, which basically means they tell the league office, we want in. Like, we want into the USL Premier when it starts. Detroit City's not on that list. We don't think Detroit City wants to be a USL Premier team on the first day. Of course they do, right? But it's a matter of getting there. So if this debate is about, this discussion is about ambition, this is about, obviously, which of these clubs feel like the kind of teams that are really going to make a run at getting promoted, right? When the pyramid is formed, whether that's from championship to Premier, because they go up because they have that ambition on day one and they apply for a second division spot, or they stay in the third division and the USL pyramid allows them to go, we're going to go win the third division so we can move up, Rob.
Yeah. Who's in the mix for a double promotion? If
there you go,
that
sure,
becomes a thing. So starting off, do you want to categorize these guys as a definite promotion candidates, promotion prospect, and then maybe not a candidate as it stands? Like,
and again, I want people. I also want people to know that we're not like you can go read John Morrissey's work and follow the people that are talking about the season as it's unfolding in USL League One. That's a factor in imagining a future in which these teams are getting promoted. But we're kind of taking that out of this because so much is going to change between now and when we get to that moment of there's an actual promotion on the line. So AC Boise is absolutely one of the top teams in terms of ambition in League One, and they are a candidate in my mind to go up as soon as that promotion and relegation system is enacted. Rob.
Yeah, I agree with you there. This is probably the easiest one, leading the league in attendance in their first year. They have a great situation there with their venue, and it seems to be they are entertaining their fans there in Boise and sitting in fifth spot in their debut year. And then one thing, before we get deep into the team by team thing, one thing that came to mind as you were talking about relegation being online, would this whole interim period be a lot more interesting if it was like they set a date and it was like maybe a cumulative results over the years leading into the promotion relegation system?
But why do you think they haven't done something like that, Rob?
Well, it comes back to the press conference thing and all that. There's more questions than answers.
It comes back to, we have this plan we've put out into the world, but we're really not sure if we're ready to like there's so many, like that would be my guess. And I'm not really even mad at USL, right? I'm not, there are some things I don't like about the way anything in American soccer works, and USL is not they're they're as open to those criticism as anybody, obviously. They're still a corporate, like they're still acting in their own business interest. And I definitely think I would rather them keep things close to the vest and have a solid plan and get this thing up and running ready on day one when they hit the button to have it work, than jump ahead, make a bunch of big claims, which they kind of did for a little while, and not really. Like right now they have no plan to back it up, and that's not a great look. Like we haven't seen anything substantive that's like, here's how our promotion system is going to work and our relegation system is going to work. And it's going to be 3 up, 3 down, or it's going to be points accumulation. And it's going to happen over the course of 5 years. Remember, we talked about this, right? You're populating your first division. Okay, great. Are you going to have relegation in year 1? Probably not, right? You're just going to have promotion maybe if clubs want to go up. And again, there's also the work to be done, which is kind of where we are, which of these clubs can move up? Right? Which one have the business stability to move up? The contract on a stadium, owning their own stadium, revenue streams, all that stuff. Anyway, okay, let's go. Okay. So Boise, all right, so yes.
I've put Boise, our first team, into the definite promotion candidate category. Okay. Moving on to another first-year team, AV Alta, Antelope Valley out there in California.
Yeah, they have done something very cool in Antelope Valley. What's this?
One of my favorite interviews when we had the representative from there. The catchphrase of "We're nobody's farm team."
We're nobody's farm team. Yeah, that's a good one. I think you kind of have to put them in a pretty ambitious category here, Rob. I mean, this is a team that when they turn the key on Pro Rel, I think is going to be making a bunch of noise about how they want to go up. How they want to go up to that next level. Again, trying not to make it about stadium size and things like that. They're in that middle range, right? And I don't think that they're playing in Lancaster Municipal Stadium in Lancaster, California. So clearly, not their building they can just do stuff to. But I think that, this is a team that I think is going to want to be pretty ambitious from day one and has talked it up, right? Like you mentioned that interview, that this is a team when we say, what about Pro Rel? They're like, yeah, we're totally in on this. Like we are ready to go to try to get promoted.
All right, so good hot start. So our first 2 teams falling into the promotion candidate category. Moving into our third side here in USL League One ambition rankings, Charlotte Independence.
No,
not an ambitious team, because one of the main things I remember about Charlotte Independence was that they self-relegated, right?
They did. They self-relegated. There's some people who are very up to speed on some of the interesting ownership quirks of this team and their history, and some of the stuff that's happening as Carolina Ascent, I think, is also connected to this team. So, it's really hard to imagine that and I believe this is one of those situations, Rob, where you have a senior team, a professional team attached to what is mostly a business around youth soccer. So when you have that, it's really because, and it's not to say you can't have both on some level. And obviously, youth soccer it should be a way to funnel players up to your first team, and there's a business there with developing players and then selling them on and things of that nature. But it doesn't seem as though in this case, what we've got in Charlotte Independence is that kind of idea. Instead, this feels like there's a youth club. They've got a first division team. That team predates Charlotte FC of MLS, obviously, who came in over the top of them. Hard to imagine them putting the money in necessary to kind of, let's go get promoted. Ambition pretty low. Maybe happy where they are, like Jack said, is the right category for them.
Not as it stands for Charlotte Independence. All right, fourth team up. Controversial one, Chattanooga Red Wolves SC.
Ooh, well, I mean, you consider the work they've done. I mean, again, if we're picking sides, then I would be on the other side of the Chattanooga divide, I think, most of the time. But I think you got to put them in the ambition category, right? The hoping to be promoted, the working to be promoted group.
According to Backheeled's attendance tracker, Chattanooga Red Wolves are currently averaging 1,400 this year.
Yeah, that's not good. That's certainly not good. I mean, again, we as said in the chat, and I agree with this. If we're talking about if you're USL, you cannot have it both ways. You can't say, well, you can get promoted if your attendance is a certain number. Like that's not how it's supposed to work, right? So if Chattanooga Red Wolves put the money in on their player roster and they win the league or they do whatever it takes per USL to get promoted, shouldn't matter what their attendance is, right? Shouldn't. And maybe that move up a division bumps their attendance. Now you do like generally speaking, you should worry that means their business. And I'm not saying, again, people who are talking Chattanooga on the other side of Chattanooga, the other side of that divide probably don't care. But if you just generally care about the health of American soccer teams, spending a lot of money to get promoted and then not getting promoted typically leads to a bad result thereof.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So should I put them in the medium, the promotion prospect category?
I would say yes, only because the very existence of that club represents a certain kind of ambition.
Just the fact that they exist?
Yeah, just the fact that they decided somebody came in and said, we want to put a team in Chattanooga where there's already a team that's established itself, but we think there's room or we think we can be the team. It's a mentality and an attitude thing. And yes, again, like I don't think they will have what it takes necessarily to go from League One up levels, but I don't think you can say that they won't want to do that.
All right, moving right along, we have as our fifth USL League One team to rate their ambition, Corpus Christi FC down there in Texas. The Sharks, they kept their Shark moniker from their USL 2 days. The most significant note about them, we've talked to their coach before and their club. They definitely seem excited, ambitious to be at this level, but some of the planning, there's question marks because they're planning to build a 5,000 person stadium, but about like 2 weeks into the season or so, early in and around the kickoff of the season, they said, actually, the stadium's not complete. We're going to be playing in a temporary venue. So they do have the ambition to build a new sports complex, including a stadium, but the planning was questionable because they were trying to be in that stadium this year, and they had to push that deadline way back.
Yeah, this does feel like a club that got out over its skis, right? And then you have, I think there were some questions around the ownership, and I don't know how funded that ownership is. And, I'm, again, not to make it about market, because if you win, you win. If you get promoted, you get promoted. But it's not as though Corpus Christi itself is sort of this latent market with the money that's going to come in and push this club forward and make them really ambitious. I'm not going to say they won't want to be promoted, Rob. They'll be they'll compete like anybody else. But if you're talking about putting the resources in that it's going to take when you compare them to some of these other clubs, I don't see that in Corpus Christi.
Well, they're trying to build a complex that includes a soccer stadium, multiple soccer fields, a go-kart track, and all sorts of other things. Anyone down in that area, I'd love to see any pics if like all this stuff is getting built or if this is fantasy. But so should we put them in the prospect category because they have these big plans, or would you just say not as it stands because we haven't seen it realized yet?
I would say this is a very much a show me situation, and I just haven't seen enough there.
And just for results, put that in context. They started off a little tough, but they're at a mid-table right now in USL League One.
Jack disagrees, says that they're pretty ambitious down there. Again, I think this is a relative thing too, and maybe we should just kind of hold off on fully judging Corpus Christi for that. But I look at some of these other teams that we're going to get to, Rob, and we should, we want to make sure we get to everybody. And there are expansion teams as well in League One that we should consider. And I think, I don't know, like, are they there at the same level as a Fort Wayne? Who's next?
Yeah, Fort Wayne talking about building delays, but kind of tackling that situation in a completely different way. Fort Wayne FC, hopefully we'll get to see that stadium here in October and visit there ourselves. But they're playing in the stadium as it's being built around them. And they found some success on the field after having to play away from home for a number of years. And just like Corpus Christi before them, a USL League 2 team making that jump from elite amateur to the professional ranks. And, it's hard to say that they're not ambitious with building a, brand new shiny soccer stadium there.
Yeah. And like, I do think that this is true of some of these other teams as well. So I'm not saying this is unique to Fort Wayne. But obviously the League 2 runway, right? Let's have a club. Obviously they've rebranded, so it's a completely different look for the team. But just having a team, understanding, learning what that means to operate a team in Fort Wayne, tapping into whatever community connections you can make during that period, then launching Fort Wayne FC as a professional club. As you said, some delays and some stuff with the stadium, with Ruoff Stadium, but clearly top of the class for that level of soccer in America. Like, undoubtedly one of the best small soccer stadiums that we'll see in this list. That to me, and again, like, I don't have the individual net worth of everybody on the list of their owners, but I think if you talk about connecting to Ruoff and having that local name on the building and things like that, 100% this is a team that screams, we want to go get promoted. We are fully engaged in what this will be.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more about Fort Wayne, we have an interview with their comms director out there as well. We learned about how they put together Friendly, the Gorilla mascot, and then also notable that their stadium is being all privately funded by ownership there. So
right,
notable there for that club.
That kind of like, that's a give and take thing, right? That's good. Like, we don't really want public money building stadiums unless it's truly helpful to the community. But if the ownership group is financing the stadium, that means the ownership group probably has less spending power around the team itself on the field. Now you need
they're a very young team, and that could change though once the pro rel is activated.
Yeah, that could change. Absolutely, that could change. And by the way, one thing that we don't know, because we haven't seen it, is how the addition of promotion as a possibility impacts the general quality of player that some of these clubs are able to attract at the salary levels that they spend, right? Like, just to say, like, if you have an ambitious player they might come in, or there might be players who would typically be championship level players who'd say, I want to go play for an ambitious team in League One because I can help them get promoted, or that's something I want to experience. And I just a knock-on effect to what this might be.
One last note on Fort Wayne. Do you think that their new rebranded look looks like the Smith & Wesson logo?
I don't think about the Smith & Wesson logo very often, Rob. That's not my bag. I'm not one of those. I don't have that thing on me, is what I would say is generally my position.
But I think they'll be all right. They're getting sued, but those are the sort of things that I feel like they could be lawyered away.
Probably. I didn't realize Smith & Wesson was so protective of their trademarks, but yeah, maybe that's
one of the things in the Morning Kick Around Discord server, because this subject was discussed a couple weeks ago in the USL thread, in the Discord server, which you can get access to by becoming a channel member. Shout out to our ultras. But apparently there's other logos that look a lot similar who haven't been sued. So it's a little bit of a strange case there. But as a gun guy, it does not look like it. So maybe they're just trying to get a buyout or something like that. Maybe Smith & Wesson's so we're getting conflicting reviews here that it does or it doesn't look like
it's in the
it.
eye of the beholder, Rob. It's in the eye of the beholder. Let's
all right.
okay.
With that in mind, I've put Fort Wayne FC in our definite promotion candidate category. Moving on to another Midwest team, Forward Madison. The Flamingos, are they a promotion candidate, a prospect, or not a candidate as it stands?
I would say that everything about this club, how it's been run, obviously they made a splash because of their aesthetics, which, you know, can feel like cheap heat if you don't use it, if you don't lean into it, if you don't have, again, if you don't build a foundation based on that. But I think this is 100%. I mean, we can talk about Breese Stevens Stadium. Somebody's mentioning, you know, it feels like here it is, American Groundhopper. Great community engagement. Stadium is great for what it is. They could be a USL championship, but USL Premier is a stretch. Now, obviously, he's talking about things like the stadium, which seats 5,000 people, which is, and it's just an historic building in Madison. It's 100 years old. It looks like a lower league ground in England, except for that curved section, which I guess was maybe baseball at one point.
Yeah, it used to be baseball.
So, you know, they are not, you know, like they're not glitzy and glamorous from their facilities perspective in that way. And yet they have built so much there that absolutely Forward Madison is a candidate for this. Absolutely, they're going to be ambitious. Absolutely. Like, I don't know if somebody's going to come in and throw $10 million at the problem to make Forward Madison a championship team and gain promotion. But I think absolutely they're the kind of team that is smart enough how they run their club that you will look at them and go, yep, that's a candidate.
As we're going through these teams, I almost feel like some of these USL League One teams might be more game for the pro rel system and kind of like biding their time for it to kick in than a lot of the teams in the championship level, because a lot of those teams have existed in that second division level as it stands for quite some time. Yeah, I feel like there's more upside for the pro rel system for the clubs here. But
well, I mean, that's because of the spend, right? That's because of the investment it takes to be successful, stable, however you want to describe it at this level. Like, it doesn't take a ton. Like, I mean, it's more money than I have, obviously, but it doesn't take so much to launch a USL League. This is why USL League One exists, Rob. It's why they created this, and applaud USL for creating this division and giving these ownership groups and these towns, these places, the opportunity to enter American professional soccer at this level. Like, this is what we mean by dot the map, right? If your standard is always, you got to have, you know, 100, 2 million, 100, 300 million, 400 million, $500 million to get into professional soccer in America, well, then that's going to limit the pool of people who have the wherewithal to start a team. But if you are able to say it takes $2.5 million to launch a team, okay, we can put that together in Madison. We can put that together in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So, you know, this has been good. Now, again, what is going to be interesting is as you add promotion to the mix, relegation's on the table too for the championship and premier teams. Obviously, we don't expect for USL League One teams. But as you add promotion to the mix, what does that do for how these clubs operate? Suddenly, are you attracting more investment? Suddenly, do the owners that are already there thinking we got to spend more money to try to go up? Or are they just thinking we do what we do, and if we win promotion, great, we build our business from there?
Moving on to our next team, Greenville Triumph, the club that has my favorite ever rendering. They've just, I don't know if it's completely finished, but they're playing in their new soccer-specific stadium. Where do we put Greenville?
Man, I think look, they've got the stadium done, or they are finishing. They did a stadium, right? Okay, it's weird and medieval or whatever, Renaissance themed and all that stuff. And there's an AI rendering that Rob can't get over with the goalkeeper cut in half or whatever it is. But
floating goalie with one leg.
Yeah, I think Greenville has to be pretty solidly a candidate to go up at some point, right? Like they're going to be in the mix. Like there's, you know, I see a comment about the size of the population in the Greenville area. My mom lives in the Greenville area. I see the explosion. she's been there for like 8 years. She complains about the traffic, and I'm like, you're one of the traffic. What are you talking about? You helped make the traffic. All these people are coming down here, and I'm like, you're one of the people. Anyway,
everybody wants to be the last person that moves to a place.
I know that is so true. They're like, no, Greenville's closed. Okay, we're done now. You can't come down here because I liked it before. Now I don't like it. Yeah. So room to expand. The stadium is part of this. Absolutely. I think just everything about Greenville, and look, they've been champions of this division. They played some good soccer. They made the best of what they had stadium wise before this all came together in Malden. I do wonder about that, right? And staying relevant in their marketplace, which is relevant to their business, which is relevant to their spending, which is relevant to their ability to get promoted. But 100%, they're a candidate.
So promotion candidate or promotion prospect? You putting them in the highest tier of ambition here?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Do you disagree?
Just because I think they'd have to do a lot of upgrades to make it a bigger stadium, but I can't really. I don't have a hard reason to push against the reasons that you laid out there. I just didn't know there was like necessarily a groundswell. They're in the bottom third of the league as it stands right now. They're attracting like 2,500 or so to their games. So I put them in the prospect.
For sure there's room for improvement across everything. And maybe maybe they haven't bedded in with the stadium yet to kind of figure out what that looks like. I don't know. They are relatively established by American soccer standards, right? Do they feel like they're roots in the ground? They're never going anywhere? No, I wouldn't say that. But I think the kind of club that you can see making one or two tweaks, finding the right combination of players, and like at least being in the wanting to be in that conversation and doing some things. This is what ambition is: the willingness to take some risks to get the reward. And I think Greenville probably has that attitude.
All right, so I'll move them up in my my rankings here, and moving along, the reigning champions of this division, One Knoxville.
Yeah, I'll let you open this one up there, Rob. One Knoxville is an interesting one, still relatively new, right? Which is tough. I mean, successful on the field, but tougher to get a line on what they might look like in the future, in a future that allows them to get promoted.
Yeah, they're currently sitting in third place in USL League One, and they're averaging over on nearly 6,500 per game there. And obviously, reigning champions. I don't know what the stadium ownership situation is at all, but obviously they've put together a really good team on the field. They provided some really good moments in their short history. Obviously, from winning the league, they had an entertaining Open Cup run. And I think they have a Matt Wolf badge as well. I think that's a Matt Wolf design as well. So they've got a nice look. They've got some success on the field. Like I said, I don't know their exact stadium situation as it stands, but I would put them pretty high in our ambitions.
Yeah, I mean they're in a minor league baseball park right now. That's the second stadium for them. So they've been, they have kind of done the stadium hopping thing that happens for lower division soccer clubs in America, obviously building a lot of this. And it's not that attendance decides whether you get promoted. Clearly it's about winning. It's about the competitive thing, but building stadiums indicates so much about a team's ability to be stable.
Especially in this moment. Are we building for something that's going to exist for a long time? Like you said, that's true ambition. Like, I'm willing to take a bet, put some money on it, go through a lot of litigation and business and all that to put that much. It's not just a fly by night. Like, it'd be fun to have a team, and then it doesn't work out, so I'm going away. So
it's also about selling the community on what you're doing, because we did say Fort Wayne is privately financed, but almost in every other case, you're talking about a public-private partnership. You're talking about, all right, the community will own the stadium, the city will own the stadium, the county will own the stadium, and the club is the tenant. And we're doing this thing where it's we're going to give tax breaks for you to build it, and the land is this and that, or the team owns the stadium, but the community gets this benefit out. I mean, those things, that ability to sell, whatever you think about those stadium deals, that ability to sell the community on that partnership and soccer being part of the town's future is it says a lot about the ambition and the ability of these clubs to compete. Because if you are worried about where you're playing, if you're worried about your stadium situation, how on earth can you focus on your on-field product to go get promoted, Rob? Because especially if you're like, well, man, that we're playing in a 5,000 seat converted minor league baseball stadium and our lease is kind of iffy. And oh man, like if we get promoted, can we even meet the requirement? Or would we even have our stadium deal? What happens when our costs go up on our playing roster? And now what about the stadium? What the stadium cost stays the same, maybe if you're lucky, but we're spending so much money in other places. Oh, and by the way, the county controls revenue in certain ways, right? Those kind of things.
So I've got Knoxville in our promotion candidate category. Moving on to FC Naples, another Florida team, another very new and young team. Where do we rank them in our ambition rankings?
Successful, relatively successful on the field to this point in their history, right? Like some success.
This year, I think their first year was maybe a little bit more.
Last year they finished fourth and they made the semis. So that's in terms of success on the field, and they're brand spanking new. That was year one, right? Yeah. So year one, they made the semifinals of USL League One. That says something. I mean, there's always this. You have to be careful because sometimes expansion teams are just new enough that nobody knows what to do with them. Like, how do they play? What do we do? Like, there's no familiarity. There's no book on them. Sometimes that just enthusiasm of a new club can push them up through. And then year two, bang, you hit reality, right? Year two, sophomore slump, and the bottom drops out, or you're just not as good. St. Louis and MLS and San Diego and MLS come to mind. I'm just using MLS examples because there's so much expansion in those leagues. But obviously, if you have success out of the gates, you're capturing some interest in the town, right? Naples is a place that I always think of it as a retirement community, but there's probably some latent interest in the sport in that place. They're, as you said, this year not as good, 12th right now, below the playoff line. It's about stadium. They play in the Paradise Coast Sports Complex Stadium. Like that stuff. Just in terms of the ability to bring revenue in, so they can spend money, so they can get promoted. Rob, I would put them. What are our categories again? Lay them out for everybody.
Our definite promotion candidate, a promotion prospect, or not a candidate as it stands.
I think the promotion prospect is probably right for FC Naples, but again, they're so new. I feel even uncomfortable labeling them anything.
Yeah. It could be. They could be anything at this point. They could be, a team that builds or could disappear because they don't have like major roots in the ground just yet. But fingers crossed. They continue to grow. They've already had some good moments in their short history. Moving along to another new team, the one that we've covered to a degree on this program, the new version of the New York Cosmos. I heard a joke saying the New York Cosmos of Paterson, New Jersey, a la the Angels in baseball. They are in last place in USL League One. Their venue seems to maybe not be ideal. Where do we rank the new Cosmos here?
Oh man. I wanted to believe, and we did a countdown to kickoff with them, and I think that lots of people there have their hearts in the right places, but it has not come together. And this isn't just about the attendance in Paterson. It's kind of about how everything feels very rickety and uncertain. And I know they tried some things and they're still plugging along. And I don't know that I've heard anything like so negative you worry about the future of the team yet. But man, that does not feel sustainable. It certainly does not feel like a team that can lean into a promotion campaign, Rob. Like that doesn't feel still trying
to get their feet underneath the table, right?
Yeah, I think that they are not at all a candidate for promotion at the moment.
All right, so the Cosmos join Charlotte with not currently a promotion candidate. Moving along, they had huge news last week. They've kind of captured a lot of hearts before their announcement of a new stadium, but Portland Hearts of Pine Ambition, it breaks the scale, right?
They might not. This might be the easiest one on the board, right? Portland Hearts of Pine is. I mean, again, fairly new, but everything they've done is so impressive. You kind of throw that part out of the window and you go, okay, well, they've hit a home run. Sorry to mix my metaphors with everything they've done. And now they have a stadium plan. And that's, until it's actually built, it doesn't exist. And we shouldn't count chickens before they're hatched, all those things. But just by putting that plan together, you can see, and you have reason to believe, unlike maybe Oakland, where they got super ambitious in a big city with lots of complicated factors in building a stadium, this one feels doable. And I think Portland Hearts of Pine is maybe top of this list.
There's an easy one there. Moving right along in our list here. Richmond Kickers, one of the most storied teams in American soccer, longest lasting consecutively. And they have the biggest venue in this list, but I don't think they're actually able to use all of it.
Yeah, they play in a stadium that isn't exactly a soccer specific stadium, to say the least. It's not the worst stadium that you're going to find in American soccer, but it is. And look, they've made it their own. It's City Stadium in Richmond. It does seat 22,000, but they set their capacity at 6, which is not. So the idea is like, oh, could they go to 20 something thousand if they wanted to? Well, they clearly have not made that choice. Marcus is saying they'd have to renovate the non-TV side in Richmond. This is also a club whose main goals have always been to sort of just keep going,
keep on kicking.
They self-relegated, right? This is one of those teams that was like, this division is too expensive for us. We're going to go down division, and that's going to help us control our costs, and we will stay going, right? We will remain on the scene in Richmond, and a team that goes back to 1993, which is 33 years ago, and is barely
generations in American soccer parlance.
Yeah, I mean, barely anything in a European context is massive here. And the Ukrop family of Richmond are, they are like the royal family of soccer in Richmond. So for them, it's more about like, keep it going. They have a very vast youth system in Richmond under the Kickers name. So I would say that they are
not a candidate. Just because, I mean, they've done so well to embed themselves in the community. They obviously have support. They get over 4,000 a game. But like you're saying, they've just been so cautious and careful and mindful, I guess, of not they haven't got caught up and gotten over their skis like it's easy to do.
Well, and that's a club whose idea of running a club is basically, can we break even? Like, it's not. They don't want to run that club at a deficit, because if they run it at a deficit, it becomes much tougher to justify keeping it going, right? So that means that you're limited in their spending, because if you're managing your budget so that you come out even or as close to even as you can, if you're trying to limit your losses, that limits your ambition. Because going up, and again, I said this, sometimes that means leveraging your, we're going to borrow a bunch of money. We're going to spend a bunch of money. We're going to pump a bunch of money into our playing roster or whatever, so we can go up because we think we're going to realize gains there. I just don't see Richmond making those risk decisions.
With talking about Richmond's stability and in kind of the bumpy restart for the Cosmos, I do want to bring up this stat that there's been 6 USL seasons and champions. Guess how many of those teams don't exist anymore?
Oh, no. 3?
It's 50% of USL League One champions are not operating right now.
And
just
those are
that out there. One Knoxville, the reigning champions, Union Omaha, still rocking and rolling. Then 2023, North Carolina FC.
Yeah. Well, again, North Carolina FC is this weird zombie club that kind of exists because they're apparently applying for Premier, but also kind of doesn't exist because they're not playing soccer right now. So yeah, I mean. Yeah, interesting.
2022 with South Georgia Tormenta, which we talked a lot about them. They closed down, obvious, and then Greenville Triumph still rocking and rolling. The 21 champions, no 2020 season, And the 2019, the debut season for this division, North Texas SC.
Which is an FC Dallas operation, and obviously jump ship to go to MLS next, bro.
So I guess they're still operating. So 2/3 of them are still operating, but just the other one is not in the same division. Continuing to our rankings, though, Sarasota Paradise. They're rocking and rolling. They've got they're obviously another very new and young team operating in a small facility on a coastal town in Florida, similar to Naples, maybe retiree, but there's a little bit more. They've got college. There's a University of Florida presence there, or Florida State rather. And I don't know if you've been to the Ringling Museum is an attraction there, and obviously white sand beaches down there. But you're trying to get you off the beach and into the stadium. Well, how are they doing?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I'm not. Is this down? Are the Lipizaners nearby? I've seen the Lipizaners when I was a kid. You know those horses? They're the horses that dance. Okay, anyway, go look up.
Do they dance in the water or on the beach or something?
No. It's not like that. It's just like they're these big white horses and they do these. Anyway, doesn't matter. What I was going to say is this feels to me, and it's a little bit like, as you said, like FC Naples. It's kind of like, I kind of don't want you to try too hard for promotion, guys. Like, I know you want to win games. That's what the point of the sport is, to go out and win games. But can you just kind of work on being established where you are for a little while? That's probably unfair, right? Is that unfair to kind of put that on a club like Sarasota? What's attendance look like for Sarasota, Rob?
So the attendance for Sarasota, they play in a stadium that only has a capacity of 3,000. It's like one of those, like an elite youth stadium sort of complex.
Right.
And they are currently, per Backhield's attendance tracker, Sarasota Paradise is averaging 1,600 fans.
That does not scream promotion candidate or promotion possibility to me. That screams just stay where you are. You're probably, I would put them in our lowest category, Sarasota.
All right. Yeah. So exist, rock and roll, develop some roots, and then maybe a bigger opportunity or a stadium sort of thing comes along.
Exactly. Well, I mean, at the very least, like if you start winning, maybe you drive more attendance, but it doesn't
like
feel like that.
I mean, there's like a 3,000 capacity with a wait list sort of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing for sure. Absolutely.
All right. Moving on. Spokane Velocity.
Good job, Rob. Let's everybody give Rob a round of applause for self-correcting on that one. I know it's tough. All right, Spokane. Well, considering they just shut down their women's team, Rob, it's really hard for me to imagine that they are candidates to go and play for promotion anytime soon.
Yeah, you'd have to agree, unless they're doubling their efforts on just operating one team at a time. But how they handled that, not great communications from the staff. And I have seen some stories about the way that the women's team was kind of let go. They're having trouble getting like unemployment benefits and stuff like that. Not necessarily being shown the exit in a kind way. Whether the Velocity are promotion candidates, looking at some of their vitals, so to speak, they're sitting right now in the table in USL League One. They're currently sitting in 6th. And then as far as their attendance, they are averaging about 1,700 fans. So they're not exactly shoulder to shoulder filling up their venue.
Yeah, look, and this is a good story. I'm going to leave aside what happens with the women's team in Spokane.
Yeah.
For a second, just because I want to talk about the story of why Spokane Velocity exists. It exists because a couple, Katie and Ryan Hardnetow. I'm doing a Rob here because it's got an X on the end. I mean, come on. Anyway, they are the first couple of soccer in Spokane, right? They are the owners of Spokane Velocity. They clearly got excited about the idea of bringing professional soccer, both men's with the Velocity and women's with Zephyr, to their town, right? This is our town. We love Spokane. We love Eastern Washington, and we want to. But these are not the kind, and I don't know what their net worth is, but it's really hard to imagine that they're the kind of people who can go, yeah, let's throw $10 million into this so that we can go and get promoted, right? Like that, I don't know, man. Like that's the thing. Like it is clearly they have a good play. Like their intentions are good, no matter what happened with the Zephyr in the end. I think that's tough. That sucks. Don't treat people like that. But it doesn't feel like to me that unless there's suddenly new investment in this team that comes in from somewhere else, and they sell a third of the team for way less than $1 billion, like Liverpool, and they find some people to throw some money into this, and like again, stadium situation and sort of like what the ceiling is. I don't think they feel to me like a third division team, and it's going to be really hard for them to win their way and business their way out of the third division.
So would you say they're not a candidate for promotion?
I would say not a candidate. In my mind, not a candidate. Like not because of not because of the quality of their play. They finished third last year, and as Marcus is saying, back-to-back finals appearances. Like clearly they put together some good soccer teams. And if they win, if the promotion relegation comes in, let me just again be clear about this. If they win the division, they deserve to go up. We're not arguing about the quality of the soccer. We're saying that once promotion and relegation comes into the picture, it's going to change how these clubs operate as they jockey for those spots to go up. If you really, really, really want to go up, because, and I know this is the allegation and I don't really love it, but what are the stakes? If there's no promotion or relegation, what are the stakes? When you're a USL League One club right now, winning a championship is your stake, right? I want to win a championship. But if winning that championship now comes with spending 100% more on your club the next season, right? Even if USL finds a way to ship you some cash to help you with that transition, like that now creates a new environment of competitiveness. And that's what we're trying to do in terms of ambition, right? And again, maybe it's unfair to throw Spokane into a category of not a candidate because of what happened with the Zephyr, but man, it's
not a good indicator. That's for sure.
It's not a good indicator.
All right, I got them in our lowest category. Moving on to Union Omaha, currently sitting in first place in USL League One. They upgraded their facility this year to Creighton University with plans to build a soccer-specific stadium.
They're top tier, 100% top tier, right? Don't they feel like a club that could easily be in the championship right now if they wanted to be? I mean,
and there's probably only current restrictions are probably preventing them that as far as like PLS stuff is probably the only restriction.
Yeah,
right now.
Again, I don't know about their ambition in the current scenarios of USL. Like if they've talked to USL about, hey, we would love to be a championship team rather than a League One team. I have no idea. Again, maybe they're just waiting for the idea of winning the league, and they've won, right? They have won, and maybe some of this is again for some of these clubs. It's like, we've established ourselves. We're here. We want to build this thing in our community. Okay, we've got a stadium plan. We've got some people are starting to sign off on the stadium plan. Okay, now we can see ourselves really pushing on and going up those tiers. But Union Omaha screams to me promotion possibilities day one of ProRel when it comes.
Yeah, and I just I like their badge, their logo, and quite a number of OCFC players have gone on to play over there as well. So nice. Soft spot for Omaha, and I've got them in our promotion candidate category. And in final current and operating USL League One to rank here, Westchester Soccer Club. Playing, it's like suburban New York, and they've been a great dot to add to the greater New York soccer landscape. Second year club for them. We've had ownership on here before. They definitely got into the mix. They had an exciting moment hosting NYCFC in the Open Cup.
Yeah, we talked to their owner, who, Mitch. Very wide-eyed and ready, but clearly learning. You met him in person. You got a chance to hang out with Mitch when he traveled to Michigan for the
it was the one guy in a Westchester kit or a scarf, and I was like, "Are you a Westchester fan?" He's like, "I'm the Westchester owner," and then we went from there. And I gotta say,
what a flex that is!
And that is one of the beauties of lower league American soccer is you can literally just bump into the owner of the club in the concourse.
Yeah. I want the best for Westchester. I think it's and again, I don't think we should be in the business. And I know I saw somebody say something, not an ultra. So, again, become an ultra to get your comments on screen. where's the USL's responsibility in vetting the owners? And this was a reference to Spokane. And again, we'd have to really look at Spokane velocity to say whether they did anything wrong there. I don't think that's the case necessarily, but obviously the Zephyr didn't stand the test of time, and that's a black mark on that ownership, at least for getting out over their skis in that regard. I don't want a world in which we are so strict about ownership or so strict about market selection and that kind of thing that a guy like Mitch can't start a club in his town in Westchester. Like, I kind of want that to be a possibility. Now, should there be a different entry point when the stakes feel high for us as American soccer fans, when clubs die? So when we talk about South Georgia dying, like, we don't want to put clubs in place only to have them disappear in 5 years. I hope that's not the case with Westchester. So I root for Westchester, but I can't see that club being in a position to really push for promotion anytime soon.
Yeah, at least as it stands. And other just side note, doesn't really rank their ambitions, but their commuter kit, their specialty kit they came out with, probably one of my favorite all-time American kits. I don't know if you've seen that. Have you seen that, Jason?
It
was floating around in the Discord.
I will look at it.
It's basically all the transit lines as a map on their stadium.
That's been done before on kits, but if they pulled it off, it is a great look. Yeah.
It's really well done.
By the way, we have a request in the chat to bring Mitch back on the show. We should do that. Maybe we do that as an end of the season. Hey, how did things go? What did your bottom line look like? What's the future of Westchester? Were we unfair to you about your potential ambition of getting promoted?
Yeah, I just placed Westchester into the bottom rung of the not a promotion candidate. And Mitch has been pretty responsive so far to any questions as things have gone along the way. So of the existing clubs, so our rankings go this way. As far as not a candidate, we have Charlotte, Cosmos, Richmond, Sarasota, Spokane, and Westchester. Prospect, so kind of our middle ranking is the Chattanooga Red Wolves, Corpus Christi, Greenville, and Naples. And in our top ranking level, promotion candidate, Boise, Avialta, Fort Wayne, Madison, Knoxville, Portland, Hearts of Pine, and Union, Omaha. But there are some teams that meant to get into USL League One and decided not to pull the trigger. And then there's some that have plans to join very soon. You see on the screen here.
So the ones that you said decided not to pull the trigger, give us.
Fort Lauderdale was one of the ones that was supposed to be in USL League One this year.
Right. This year, push that back. Doesn't bode well.
Sporting Cascades is in the same category.
Yeah, we understand the background on Sporting Cascades and what happened there. And I look again. I think you could view that. You could have a harsh reading of the Sporting Cascade situation and say, oh well, they clearly didn't. That was terrible launch, and how can you trust them to do anything good in the market? Blah blah blah, because their first ownership swing was a miss, but they seem to have proper ownership. We've talked to him; he's really in. He's bought into the idea of bringing professional soccer to Eugene, right? Is what we're talking about, Eugene, Oregon. Yep. Yeah. So I not again, none of these teams we can put in any category, because we haven't seen them do anything yet. Port St. Lucie
they have to kick a ball first or exist.
They have to kick a ball. They have to have a fan in the stadium. I know they have fans like in concept, but you don't really have fans until you're kicking balls. Kick balls, get fans.
Talk to the Rodeo SC about that. We have a comment that they've pushed back to 2028, and those guys, the Rodeo Clown supporters group, definitely they're having fun making content already. So
well, look, I know I'm kind of joking about this, but I'm serious. Kick balls, get fans is the way it should go. Not get fans, kick balls, but that's American soccer. Like, this is the way we do it. I guess. I think. I'm hopeful. And by the way, again, there are lots of other expansion ideas on the table that aren't even listed on the website for USL. And this is not a secret. This is not me reporting anything. But Adrian Heath, former head coach of Orlando City and Minnesota United, is attached to the Space Coast expansion or a group. He listed on the website. Told me he's moving from Minnesota to Florida as he works on that project. So there are going to be others that we're going to have to consider in the very near future because there is an explosion in this, which is good. That's what we want. That's what Dot the Map's all about.
Yeah, the total number of teams, I think there's 17 operating clubs, participating teams in USL League One this year. That's not the number that was originally forecast. It turned out to be 17. And then if you go by the USL averages, we may lose from this division or the championship at least one in this period. So, definitely not stable footing. And I think it should be said that we want all the teams to exist and continuing and can keep those dots on the map. But existence is definitely a factor here if we're like kind of forecast years in the future.
Yeah, that's what American soccer is, right? It's shifting sands at all times. It's MLS has gotten to itself to a place. I think one of the greatest success of MLS is that so many soccer fans in America kind of hate the way it works because they see it as inauthentic. And I completely understand why you think of MLS as inauthentic. I'm also enough of a pragmatist, though, to think that MLS did what it needed to do to get where it is. And again, killed off 2 clubs in the process. Actually 3, if you count Chivas USA. The path to this has been so difficult. And here MLS is now 30 teams, completely stable, stadiums all over the country. And we're still like, they're not doing it the right way. And it's like, yeah, okay, but let's at least acknowledge that not a lot of people imagined it would be like this when things started in the mid 90s with any professional clubs. Right.
And this is why we, that's not the comment that I meant to say. This is why this is the sign I tap every time we start the show, right? The ever-changing American soccer landscape. Who's going to be here tomorrow? Hard to say. I mean, obviously, there's weather indicators. But,
and again, I want. It's what I hope for soccer fans. It's a wish, right? It's again, do soccer the way you do soccer. You do you. However you want to engage with it. I think it's. There's so many different ways to interact with soccer, and you get to make your own choices. I will resent you a little bit and not love the fact if you are just, I only watch English football. It's the real stuff. Like, okay, fine, whatever. Get over yourself. But if you are going to interact with American soccer, what I hope for people is to try to do it, to interact with it fairly honestly. Like there are certainly bad things and bad people and bad choices and anti-competitive elements to how soccer is operated in this country. And obviously you could argue the way MLS operates on a business perspective is monopolistic and relationships with US soccer and professional league standards existing for only the reason to hold down challenges to MLS. Absolutely. You can argue all of those things, I think. But, I choose to look at this and go, man, this is so fascinating. Like we are on the ground floor. It's 2026 and we're still on the ground floor of this thing. And who knows? And probably, Rob, you and I will be dead and buried before soccer in America is sort of like stable in any real sense. And I think that's scary and troubling and sad on some level because it speaks to all those mistakes that have been made. But it's also just interesting to be able to watch this all unfold in front of us and be here to chronicle all of it.
Yeah. It's definitely something worth following, and the American soccer landscape ever changing. So that doesn't ever really seem to be a dull day as we follow this era, still the ground floor of the sport in our country. But unless you have anything else to add, I think it's about time for us to depart for Monday's episode. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in with the comments here on the live show. If you're watching this after the fact, definitely let us know. Did we get something wrong? Do you have something further to add? Did we rank your team unfairly? Please let us know and follow along. You can subscribe, share, thumbs up, do all those things for free. And if you'd like to support the show monetarily and help add to the community of MK Ultra, just a few bucks gets you in the door. You can get your comments prioritized on screen during the live shows. Access to the Morning Kickaround Discord server where there's a lot of creative sharing there on all sorts of different subjects from international, England, local, USL Major League Soccer, people creating their own clubs, us talking about kits, stadium news, and more. And or if you just want to support the show, we thank you dearly. Yeah. All right. Until next time, everybody. Be brave. remain safe, and above all, enjoy your soccer.